Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Woohoo Group Points podcast. We talk about credit cards, obviously travel, and also today we're going to talk a little bit about status and how it might not actually be too hard to get. And I'm not just talking about getting XYZ credit card. I'm actually not an expert at this, so I'm excited to learn more. Richard, welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself and then a quick icebreaker question. Just what's a cool trip you've been on recently?
Sure. So, firstly, thanks so much for having me on your podcast. I'm Richard Viner. I'm co-founder of Travel Smarter. What does Travel Smarter do? It helps you maximize your airline status, your points for free flights. So come in and check it out. Went to Japan
Hmm.
recently and just one experience. So we took the flight there. We can talk about that in the podcast, but because that was a British Airways flight, absolutely phenomenal. We actually turned left on this one, and we kept turning left. There was only 8 seats in first, and it was an absolute glorious experience. On arrival into Haneda, everyone disembarks the plane as you normally do. You then go to clear immigration. You then go to pick up your bags. Get this. And if only this happened at every single airport in the world, I'd love this. At
Uh-huh.
Haneda, they have a guy in a suit with white gloves, and he catches every bag that comes down the carousel and turns it so that if it's your bag, you can easily pick it up and take it off the carousel.
I've seen those videos. Japan, they do customer service very well.
Like it's just mind-blowing. That's the first experience that I had of the Japanese culture that
Hmm.
is so, and it just is consistent with every interaction. It's so respectful. They're respectful for your bags. Can you imagine that happening at LaGuardia? It's just, anyway. So that was great. That was a great trip, a great adventure, a great experience, completely different to any culture,
Hmm.
an adventure that we've done before.
Yeah. Well, it's also funny you mentioned British Airways because they've been through a lot of changes with their loyalty program. Glad you got to fly first. Was that through like cash, points,
Okay,
status
so
upgrade?
we booked that up 3 months in advance. That was first class redemption,
Hmm.
British Airways companion voucher. So normally it's and don't quote me on this because the redemption changed, but we were doing a companion voucher first class, 180,000 Avios, and then we got one ticket for free. Um, yeah, it's and on
That's a
that
great
actual
deal.
on that. So let me regale a little bit about this one.
Yep.
So the BA first class product is amazing. It wasn't the first week, but great. It's a day flight that lands at 7 a.m. So it's pretty much day the whole day, and you grab a few hours sleep. But on the way back, the you are literally equidistant from London, from where Tokyo is. So
Hmm.
the pilot doesn't know if they're going to be traveling east or west until half an hour before when they see the winds and the jet stream.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
That's cool.
and then when they work out they're actually traveling east, then there's this like excitement in the airplane because when you travel east, you actually travel north from Tokyo and you go up and you cross between there's a 28-mile sliver between Russia and Canada
Hmm.
and you go 65 degrees north. So you start seeing the northern lights about 50 degrees north, and you see two sunsets, two sunrises, and the northern lights for the price of a ticket. It
Yeah.
was just, honestly, it was glorious. So you travel over Canada, over Greenland, and then drop down that way rather than going via the Middle East the other way.
Hmm. And you get your own suite, your own window to kind of view the whole thing at your own time.
Afternoon
No, like,
tea. Oh, it's
yeah.
you don't want to step off that plane. When you've traveled first, The the tough part is, stepping off the plane and then getting into your taxi home and then coming home and then you're like, where's all the on-demand dining?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the moment you step off a plane to when you get home, that or when you're traveling, right? When you go to the rental car place, go to your hotel, like that in between transition state is such a hard drop when you're going from.
someone needs to create an app that is like a therapy app that's sort of like, I'm so sorry that you are now transitioning from first class to, the metro. So like whatever it is, they need to create a therapy app for it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of apps and tools, that's not what you're creating. Someone else can do that. Tell me more about Travel Smarter and the problem that you're solving.
Yeah, so Look, the reality is that airlines have changed their loyalty schemes. There are many airlines, American, Delta, United, Lufthansa, British Airways, Virgin. They have all changed from distance-based earning to spend-based earning. And as a consequence, it's harder for frequent flyers, those with status, to retain their status or go for a higher status. Now, the good news is that this is only for about 12, 13 airlines out of 65 global airlines that are across one world, SkyTeam, Star Alliance. So when you
Sorry,
start,
I don't think people realize how many airlines there are. Like when
oh,
you go to a different country, you're seeing all these, I'm seeing all these brands and like,
yeah,
liveries
there's
that just,
hundreds of airlines, but actually some are non-affiliated. And you take the Middle East, Emirates is its own. You then have various others that, so Emirates is a really interesting one. Going down a rabbit hole on that one for a second is
yeah, yeah.
Emirates has one of the greatest networks, density and frequency in the world out of their hub out of Dubai. And so people don't leave Emirates. They actually leave Skywards. So why is it that someone that is an Emirates frequent flyer would leave Emirates? It's not because of the network, it's not because of the frequency, the ease of that. It's actually because they're not getting value out of Skywards. Skywards, you can only redeem miles on a couple of airlines.
Mm,
So Emirates being the main one, and then various other ones that are Middle Eastern based or EasyJet, which is a low cost carrier. But you take OneWorld and a British Airways card holder, you can redeem it on Cathay, you can do it on Qatar, Iberia, you can
so many.
redeem it on American, British. The network and global alliance opens up, and there's so much more value that that brings to the customer. So, in terms of the shift and the trend, what we've seen is the shift from distance-based earning to spend-based earning. And because of that, there's literally millions of travelers that don't retain their status. And what we've done is build a platform to show them that they can retain their status and they can do it, what we've seen, for between 40 to 50% less in spend and twice as fast.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think like even from my client's perspective, right? They think I fly the X airline, British Airways, so I need to use British Airway points, need to get status with them. But that's actually not the reality in the points redeeming side or the status side. So, for example, I was talking to someone recently. They have the Virgin Atlantic card. They're spending every month just so they can hit silver. But you're telling us, right? It may not have to be that way. There may be an easier way to get the same level of status, the same perks, right? Doing something else. Is that kind of what you're helping people with?
Yeah, so it's actually more perks for less spend. It's
Yeah.
like it's so we're simply revealing what's available publicly, and in our library we have over 500,000 permutations. You come in and you say, "Hey,
Wow.
I'm Matthew. I'm based out of the East Coast. Let's take in this example that you're based out of New York,
Hmm.
and I spend $15,000 a year on travel that is part of my corporate and my leisure side, and that's how much I spend on travel." So our platform reveals to you which airline will get you the highest status based on your spend and your location.
Hmm.
And I'll give you an example. So we talked about British earlier. If you're a British Airways card holder and you're looking to retain your gold, you have to spend 20,000 to get 20,000 status points, tier points. And to do that, you have to spend roughly £20,000. So that's net of tax. So a ticket excludes the tax, and that's how they earn it. We can we can find a way for you to get the equivalent One World Emerald for £14,000 with 12 upgrade vouchers, which are worth, say, $1,000 each. Upgrade from premium to business class long haul. And that's with Finnair, for example. And you don't ever have to step foot on a Finnair aircraft. So you can be in America, you can be chasing executive platinum, and we can get you that for pretty much 40-50% less spend. And with 12 upgrade vouchers, so when you're thinking about traveling over to Europe, you can actually fly business for the same price as premium because you would have earned all the upgrades.
Yeah.
And you're there's
Saving money.
no downside, right? So and you're earning Avios, which means that if you're part of that Avios family of earning, then you can still redeem it on BA,
Hmm.
Qatar, Iberia, all the different
Air
airlines within
Lingus,
the
yeah.
one world as well. So there's no downside to it. And then what we do is we then build in your credit card strategy, which I know you're great at, you take it to a whole new level in terms of credit card strategy. We say, hey, these are the cards that will get you a companion voucher, an upgrade voucher, and start figuring out, how to do that.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize is there is the individual status with airline, right? That they're all called different things, gold, platinum, all the different silver, whatever metals. But then there's also like each alliance also has their own status, right? And then the basic sense, like if I'm understanding this correctly, is I have status with X airline, I can match it to the alliance's status, and that also kind of gets passed on to other uh, airlines. Is that kind of like the basic
Yeah, so
strategy?
so as an example, we're using British Airways as this good bad example today. So as a BA Gold card holder, or even an American Platinum card holder, or an American EP holder, you can turn up to Terminal 5 in London. You can access the first wing security directly into the first lounge. Now, that's available for anyone in One World Emeralds. So British Airways Gold, American Platinum. Um, they're all One World Emerald. Now, that One World Emerald is represented and recognized throughout the One World family. One World being 15, I think 15 airlines today.
Hmm.
Um, and but yet you could earn your status with Royal Jordanian, which is in One World, and still have access to all of these benefits as part of that One World program.
Yeah, and I saw they recently had like a status match, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw a lot of people hopping on that to get
Oh
status
yeah,
and kind of
go for
follow
it.
through.
Go for it. But just beware, and this is one thing we advise
Mm.
our users is beware that you mentioned Virgin earlier, you can do the status match to Virgin, you can do the status match to Royal Jordanian, but also bear in mind that you'll start earning those miles. So the miles can be a narrow corridor depending on which airline.
Yeah,
And so you're then going to get into the creativity of what you do, which is how do I transfer my Royal Jordanian miles over to a platform that I can then use with Cathay, with American, with Alaskan, with Malaysian. Like it becomes more complex.
yeah,
But for example, if you switch today from BA to Virgin or AA to, SkyTeam, you're going to need to start building a strategy for your points within that family because that's who you're betting on in terms of building your membership and your value.
yeah. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about status in general. I think a lot of people get confused, or not confused. They get so fixated on I need this status, but they don't realize what are the actual perks they need, what are the actual perks they want, and which ones they don't actually use. What have you kind of seen either just in regular life or your users specifically with Travel Smarter that, what are some misunderstandings about status that people have?
So I think that firstly, there's no consistency across 65 airlines, even by group, within the benefits. I'll give you an example. So if you get Platinum One on Qantas, you can phone them up anytime and ask for a redemption seat. So, generally you need to do it 30 days in advance, but you can say, hey, can you release a redemption seat on the Sydney to Perth for me in first? Right? So, and if they have the fare class available, they'll do it.
Hmm.
British Airways on Gold, which is the Platinum One equivalent, you can do that, but they'll charge you twice the amount of Avios to
Oof.
do that. So the actual tier that unlocks that is actually British Airways Gold Guest List, which is three times the earnings. So instead of 20,000, it's actually 65,000 in terms of how much you need to spend. But then
Yeah.
you only get two jokers. And those two jokers is those space releases. But on Platinum One and Qantas, you can fill them up as many times you want and do it as many times.
Wow.
So there's this inconsistency across all of the One World, Sky Team, Star Alliance, and we look at, what is it that you want most out of it? And then which one is actually going to suit you more? If you're just simply a family that's traveling, that wants to figure out, make sure you get lounge access, wants to get excess luggage, don't want to pay for seating, but don't think you're going to make that top tier, which we've been speaking about a lot, but maybe you're mid tier. So
Mhm.
you just get the fast track, the lounges, all that good stuff. There's ways to unpack that for like 5, 6, 7, 8 thousand bucks, right? That's a family holiday which you can find a way to get that status.
Yeah, that when I peruse your site, like that was the helpful thing, right? It's not just an ego trip of, okay, you want this status, so let's get this status. It's actually, let's look at the value that you want, the perks and whatnot. So I think that's really helpful for exactly the different person, the business owner, running a small business going somewhere versus a family traveler, or, all the other demographics. It's really cool.
Yeah. And so what have you seen like with your with the people that you speak to? Do they tend to go to mid tier, top tier, like entry level? Like what do you see?
Yeah, no, it also depends. I think a lot of the small business owners or frequent travelers, right, for different their corporate, on their corporate travel, they make the mistake of sticking with, Delta because it's popular, or Marriott if we're also talking about hotels too. And it's just stick with that, get the card, spend a lot on it, and it works. Like the other person I was mentioning that just focuses on his Virgin Atlantic card. Like if you're so focused on XYZ, it makes sense initially, but when you again look at the math behind it, oh, from my side, right, if we get a transferable credit card, American Express has a 30% transfer bonus to Virgin Atlantic. So instead of earning Virgin Atlantic points through the credit card, earn
Right.
more points through American Express Gold, Platinum, whatever, and then you get a bonus when transferring the points out. So there's more value there. In the same way, I see that with, running for status. They love, a lot of people also just love the lower tiers for some reason because it gives them a free checked bag. But hey, you get one credit card. In the US, we're very heavy on like the credit card perks. So you get one credit card and boom, you don't need to go for status and spend all this money. You can, just get the one card. So I see that mistake a lot among my clients where it just rationally makes sense, get the airline card because you're traveling there a lot. But when we break it down, right? Unless it's an ego trip, right? Unless someone just wants to say I'm a United 1K member, like sure, then you do what you gotta do to have that
Right.
title underneath.
But also in the US, you're getting some bad press in terms of the lounges, the queues outside the lounge. So
Yeah.
actually having some of these higher statuses or, where you don't activate your paid lounges or, through your credit card
Hmm.
allows you to access presumably other lounges within the US that is
Yeah.
from your status rather than through your credit card.
Yeah, I see complaints every day. Oh, and we're not accepting United day passes, right? So yeah, then
Right.
you have to have that status or the kind of the United Club membership to be able to access. So there are always levels to this. I think people just don't expect it, right? They just think, I got this, I deserve that. But as you
Yeah.
said, there's inconsistencies, there's nuances between all these different definitions, and they're always changing. So how do you keep up with just all the changes that are happening, and then sometimes they revert because they realize there's a huge backlash? Yeah, how do you keep up with all that?
Yeah, so number one is that the great thing actually we welcome the changes
Hmm.
because those changes create and that volatility in rules, whether it's airline, hotel, credit cards, they create dependency on our platform. So selfishly, we kind
Yeah,
of don't mind it
yeah,
because
yeah.
it means that people come back into our platform and our investors, enjoy the fact that there is, continuing engagement in our platform. So number one. Number two, so that's a very selfish response to that. Number two is that we have a great team that actually are there as analysts to track and manage that within our platform. So we track it. It's done manually. We do not use AI. Do not trust AI when it comes to building out your status, your points, or your cards. Up until about 4 months ago, I thought British Airways Gold was 1,500 tier points, which was 2 years old. So, it is historical. It isn't up to date. We do need to track it by airline, by credit card, by
Mhm.
hotel, and it's all manual. We extract it and then build it into our library.
Oh, that's a lot of work, but I hear you on AI. Like, even with the points things, like for example, the Chase Sapphire preferred just refresh. It's the AI is still pulling in old information, so
Yeah.
they're not they'll get it eventually, but right now it's just not getting the information fast enough. Wow, so you guys have a really strong team.
Yeah, so we're fortunate enough to have a team that myself, my co-founders that are based over in Spain, and we have data analysts that are ex-Hopper, and we have, credit card extraction teams over in Asia. We also have developers over in Europe, So we have sort of, and our head of design is amazing, has worked on travel before for the last 10 years.
Mhm.
So she's helping us with all the customer journey flow. Bear in mind, we're literally sort of, 90 to 100 days in our launch. So, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
The platform needs a lot of work. I am a perfectionist, so I look at it and I see all the holes, and my wife reminds me and kind of goes, "That's really cool what you've done in 3 months." I'm like, "No, look, it needs all this work." So,
Because it's
if
your
only I
baby. You
thought
want it to be
that
perfect.
that's exactly it. And we know that these things will never be perfect because every time you iterate, it kind of gets better, but you want the next big thing. And that's
Mhm.
great because we want to create that kind of experience for our users and for them to come back and feel like they're getting value in every interaction, but more so actually saving money or
Mhm.
finding ways to optimize their points or finding ways to redeem it. We actually just launched a redemption package for our users, and they tell us what they want in terms of free flights, and we go out and get them for them.
Awesome.
So, it's part of that, just unlocking what is available to everyone, and making sure it's accessible for everyone, um, to really help everyone maximize their value return.
Yeah. So I mean, you sold me on this. That's why I signed up very early on. But for those that may not still be convinced, like walk me through kind of what happens when you sign on. You kind of have put in your goals and stuff. What's like the last thing you would say to convince people you should just sign up, see what it is, because I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt you in the beginning.
Yeah. So look, it's free to sign up, number one. Number two is that Um, our platform is built to maximize your spend return in terms of value back to you. So what we've seen is that the majority of users that land on our platform are not in the right program. They don't have the right credit cards. They're not maximizing their points, and certainly they're not maximizing their redemption. I'll give you an example. Like someone was just about to book a London Heathrow, JFK, and we said, hey, it's a lot cheaper via a secondary airline, and they saved over £600 in points. So
Hmm.
that's a no-brainer. Like if you're not optimizing, you're missing out. The journey that we take you on is really simple. It's 4 steps. One, you come in. If you have status today, you tell us your status, you tell us your status goals. Then we tell you whether or not you're in the right program, or if there's a better program for you that will get you a high status for less spend, or the same status for the same or less spend. Then we look at then you build your track a year ahead. So you add your flights in, and we tell you whether or not you're going to get to your status or you're going to get to a better status. And then we look at your credit cards, redemption play, we look at your holidays, to build all of that in. And we even have a live search, that is shopping, that tells you the number of status points and miles that you'll earn. We haven't built booking into it yet, but yeah, so all of that is in there. And we've just started using
Exciting.
AI. So AI will start to understand you more and understand your goals.
Yeah. And then who should be signing up? Because I think a lot of people that I talk to, especially on the more on the family end, right? They travel a couple times a year. They think status is so unreachable, or again, less about the status and even just some of these perks. What would you kind of say? Are those people still, they should still sign up? Or also, again, who else is your kind of intended demographic?
Yeah, look, if you spend $5,000 or more on travel a year, no brainer. Like you are missing out on status. And I'd probably say that we can probably get you status for $3,000 to $4,000, which is, the entry level or less. But if you are traveling, I'd say 4 round trips a year, you're missing out. If you're just doing 1 or 2 trips a year, like it's not going to be unless they're high yield tickets or they're premium cabins. So either way, we can help every traveler in the world, but the ones that it really shows value is if you're traveling 2, 3 times a year, you need to come and optimize.
Yeah, well, and that's even for just an individual. I'm sure families, right? If I'm traveling as a family of five, I'm buying multiple tickets. Maybe I do need that. I see, families also wanting that premium economy at least. So, um, if you're not traveling any at all, fine. Don't need to care about this stuff. But yeah, if you're traveling, spending money, like it's kind of a no-brainer, it seems like.
Oh, it's a no-brainer. And there's so many ways to unlock value based on spend. Just to share with you, like one of our users that had lost a British Airways Silver card, we showed him how to get that back, and with 4 upgrade vouchers to business class that's worth $1,000 each. So actually it nets in terms of
Yeah.
spend. he actually gets his One World Sapphire back, which means he can access business lounges, and he gets 4 upgrade vouchers from premium to business. And he was flying over to Asia, and now he's looking to upgrade into the business cabin for free.
Yeah, which is thousands of dollars of value. That's just from
It's
one upgrade ticket.
literally, if you don't do anything else out of this podcast or listening to it, I would say just come in and have a play with that smart status because you'll figure out whether or not you are literally leaving money on the table. And that's it.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So you set this up. You're still very early stages in terms of the company, but it seems like you've done a lot. If you're able to share, what are some things coming up? What's your vision for the future? How will you help more and more people with Travel Smarter?
Yeah, we just want to do a couple of things really well. That's status, points, credit cards, and free flights. So we want you to come in and literally share with us what your current and future travel looks like, and we'll tell you how we can optimize you. That's it. And as we are currently 60 to 70% through the world's airlines in terms of the 65 that we were talking about earlier. And we'll complete that. That's our goal.
Mm,
And we have all the credit cards in North America, UK, Europe, working at Asia. We've done Australia. So we're gonna open up new markets, and we're opening up, well, we have opened up the US. And so, it's simply just to come in and let us show you what your value could be and give you as many free points, miles for free flights as we can possibly get you.
yeah, that's a great goal. I love it. We're very much aligned. Any as much money as we can keep in our pockets. For me, for it's food when I travel abroad, it is a good win. Before we wrap up, is there any kind of last thing you want to share? Obviously, I'll have Travel Smarter links and whatnot here for people to see. But is there anything else that you would just want to tell people, either about Travel Smarter or just travel in general?
No, for me, look, for me, I've worked in travel for 20 years. I think that, travel is emotional and it's emotive, and it's precious when you have status, and it's hard to get, and it's a commitment each year. And we, I've been gold on a personal level, I've been gold on BA for 15 years,
Mm,
probably 20 actually. And, each year I set out, how I'm going to do that. Um, and so our platform does that for you. And that's what I wanted to do is just solve that problem for every traveler that goes through that each year and wants to make sure that they maximize and their value return. And then let's see how we can get you a bunch of free flights along the way. So for me, travel is emotional. It changes we're also building in the products within each aircraft as well to kind of help you on the redemption side. So there's a lot of work to do, but yeah, it's great. As I say, we're 100 days young. We've got a ton of stuff to do, but really grateful for the support from people like yourselves as well on our journey.
yeah, no, it's great hearing from entrepreneurs that are solving their own problem and then sharing it with the world. I think that's a great way to build a business. So, Richard, thank you so much again for your time.